2 weeks ago, there were 2 cases. Today, nearly 200. Some isolating at home, some in the school gym, others outside of the remote flying community of just over 1,000.
The fear is, it's a confined space. With the overcrowding, a lot of our elders are testing positive, which is really, really concerning.
Chief Redhead asked for government help and the elders to be flown out weeks ago.
It took over a week for the pandemic team to arrive. I knew this was going to blow up because of the overcrowding in the homes. It was just a matter of time, and look where we are now. It's really, really concerning.
2 small teams are on site doing testing and tracing, but some members have tested positive and are now isolating themselves. The Canadian Armed Forces is sending 6 Rangers to assess the situation, but the chief wants full military service.
We've been requesting medical personnel from the military, their nurses, their doctors, to help with contact tracing, to help with testing. We're requesting their temporary structure so that members can safely isolate.
Catherine Redhead, originally from Shamattawa, has sick family members there, including an 81-year-old aunt.
And she's taking care of a 1-year-old child, and the baby too has COVID-19, and they were flown from Shamattawa to Winnipeg. I'm so worried.
MP Nikki Ashton is also calling on Ottawa to send more help as soon as possible.
This is a time for urgent action, and it is about saving lives.
Meanwhile, fear is spreading as fast as the virus.
I'm scared for our elders. I have a family here too. And I'm worried that because, I'm on the ground with them, that I'm going to bring it home and God forbid that happens.
Chief Redhead has now called for a field hospital as more get sick. Aaron Broman, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Hi, welcome to the channel. This video is for the people of Shamattawa and First Nations. A lot of talking heads in this video, right?
The Canadian Armed Forces is sending 6 Rangers to assess the situation.
Sending in 6 Rangers to assess the situation. I spent a few minutes kind of looking up Shamattawa. I was surprised here to see that the houses had smart meters. Well, surprised and disappointed. I'll go into that in a minute. Shamattawa is a community in northern Manitoba, Canada, and the location of the Shamattawa First Nation. It is located on the banks of the God's River, where the Echoing River joins at a right tributary. God's River, like the Pan God, the man-goat God, right? Pan, part man and part goat. Pan was the god of wild groves, shepherds, and flocks, right? The Pan goat god, the pandemic. And who did Pan like? Pan and his nymphs. Pitys was another nymph who preferred to be transformed into a plant than to being Pan's object of desire. And Echo. Echo the nymph, echoing river, Greek mythology, Amazon echo. The population as of 2016 was 1,000 people. Or more precisely, 1,019, right? 9/11, COVID-19. It's just a coincidence, right? It's interesting in the beginning clip, the community leader mentioned that they wanted contact tracing. Contact tracing for 1,000 people. Like, does that make sense? You'd never be able to go out of the house, right? So it's interesting how this little community in northern Manitoba has been targeted, by the government to offer assistance. If we go to Google Maps, we see that God's Lake is here and Shamattawa is over here, and God's River runs from God's Lake. I'll just zoom in a bit, and it curls around, and then runs right where Shamattawa sits on the God's River, and I'm guessing this is Echoing River. So it's a pretty isolated community. They have their own airport. So if we pull back from the map, we see that it's in northern Manitoba and adjacent to northern Ontario, just lower than the Hudson Bay here, but very, very isolated. And we see that this little community has suffered a lot in recent years. There was a fire that destroyed their only grocery store, fire that destroyed Manitoba's Reserve's only grocery store band office, caused by 6 children. This was in September of 2016. An Anglican church burns to the ground. Church in Shamattawa, Manitoba was completely destroyed in a fire Wednesday. This was in April 2018. CBC, Shamattawa suicide shake northern Manitoba Reserve. Drugs, solvents, alcohol, and despair are major problems, community members agree. This is in March 2016. The Northern Manitoba Reserve of Shamattawa is mourning the deaths of 4 young people in the past 6 weeks, with concern growing after 4 more suicide attempts since last Thursday. A population of 1,000 people. I mean, a lot of despair, right? I was looking up the school in the community, and it's a relatively new school, and it looks like a central resource for the community. It's interesting that the roads here kind of make the eagle's head, and if we go back to their logo, when I go back to the maps, my spirit, I feel a lot of symbology, and I don't know, it's amazing how you can get a sense for a community just spiritually without ever having to go there. And my heart is very sad for these people. And I hope that someone is thinking about you and is praying for you. Looking at the community directory, speaks volumes about, what's going on in the community, right? 4 numbers: the school, the RCMP, the nursing station, airport, band office, education authority, right? It speaks a lot about, what opportunities are in this community. We see that the community was able to rebuild a grocery store. I see this northern store opened in May of 2018. That's a good resource for the community. But this little picture here, flu clinic, get your flu shot here. I think this was in 2014, I believe. But even in the small communities, right? The flu shots, right? Get 500 PC optimum points at Shoppers Drug Mart. What is 500? Strong's 500. Antichrist, associated with the flu shots. Going back here to aerial images of Shamattawa, in my spirit, there's a lot going on out in this area. And, it wasn't chosen as a first community to receive emergency treatment for any reason, right? This, I don't know. This looks like obviously this does not seem natural, right? And even this image from Google, you zoom in, this is supposed to be a river, but, clearly it's been altered, right? It's almost like some kind of Ouroboros, right? Some giant, I don't know, eating its own tail or something. But all throughout this region, there seems to be something going on. This looks like some kind of serpent, right? And if you zoom out, it looks like a sheep's head, right? A dead sheep with the tongue sticking out. Because these here, I don't know. But in my spirit, there's a lot going on with this area, and it's not surprising that, it's a place of suffering. Going back to the first clip that I played, and when I noticed that they had smart meters, and they had all these fires, right? Is there a connection, right? This in the articles, some of the news stories about the fires said that there were some kids charged, but I don't know. But anyway, help from the powers that be. If we go to Manitoba Hydro, right, we see their logo, which just happens to be a trident, right? And a trident in Greek mythology is representative of Poseidon, who could wield power over earth and hell, I believe. And it also represents 3 in 1. I think in the world it means political, religious, and financial power. This one here, with a trident, it looks like it's going in water. So that's an interesting one. Or the earth, the globe, the trident ruling the globe. It's also the devil's pitchfork. When you see the trident or, the pitchfork inverted, it's usually a sign of malice or evil intent. So, it speaks volumes, right? Game changers. Manitoba Hydro Telecom, a scorpion stinger, right, coming out of the pit, and a partial Ouroboros, a snake eating its tail, a 6, an interesting choice for a logo. And where are the headquarters of Manitoba Hydro Place? 360 Portage Avenue. 360, just a coincidence, right? Yes, my heart is very sad and heavy, for the people of Shamattawa. Someone is thinking about you in the coming days. And, I hope you make a spiritual decision. Love, grace, and peace.